is the MIAA Weekly.
Welcome to MIAA Weekly. Bear with us. We're having some technical challenges, but we're going to make our best of this. John, you look ready to go in your brand new Brandon Meisner D2 tribute t-shirt. I love it. I don't love the fact that mine hasn't arrived yet and yours has, but here we are. So how are you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad. This is what happens to us when I have women's basketball on a Monday night and we push our recording date back a day. So
I know we're John, you and I are like a football team. We don't do good when we get out of our routine here.
Blame Austin Meyer. I think he goes way back with our guest today. So we can blame Coach Meyer on that one.
Well, right now we're having to do some different things for production, and we're not at full strength right now, but you know, as Coach Madden used to say, don't worry if the horse is blind, just load the wagon. So, that's John Madden, by the way, coach of the Raiders. I know you're a young pup, but gotta spell some of these things out.
Acting to napkin. That's all I got.
That's where we're at with him. Okay. Well, you and I, let's go ahead and take a look. This is a stunner, I know, but if you would start off with our players of the week, buddy.
Yeah, Tyler Common. You're not going to see very many stat lines that compare to what Common did, and it's not. I mean, you say that and you assume, oh, it's every week. How can he up himself from where he's been at? Well, he went to the tune of 19 catches for 296 yards and 5 touchdowns. Pretty incredible day. Across the country, there were a lot of incredible days, as you guys got into on the national show. But when you're a receiver, 19 catches, that's crazy. 5 touchdowns, crazy. Almost 300 yards. There's not an aspect of it that isn't pretty outstanding. So just another day for Tyler Common, though.
Well, and such an outstanding day that only Jada Byers from Virginia Union, having 6 touchdowns and over 300 yards rushing, stopped him from being what looked to be an obvious national player of the week, but just kind of bad timing with that.
It's tough when you have the best running back day and the best receiver day of the year in the same week, but
absolutely,
it's life.
Well, how about defensive athlete of the week? Tell me a little bit about this.
A huge win. Obviously, you knew they were going to honor some people from that game with Pitt and UCO. Such a big game, but 6 tackles and a tackle and a half for loss, half a sack, a couple pass breakups. Malik Berry kind of did it all in that game against a really high-powered UCO offense, obviously. So just a really good day for Malik Berry and for Pittsburgh State's defense and team as a whole last week.
Absolutely. Well, as we go ahead and kind of move along, next up, special teamer. Tell me about him.
I mean, a guy that our guest hopes he sees a lot of this week. The punter for Pitt State averaged 41.5 yards a punt, penned him inside the 23 times. That's a pretty good day for any punter out there, and especially going against that UCO offense. You want to make him go the long way, and he did several times.
Absolutely. Well, as we go ahead and we're kind of moving into the games, we kind of hinted at this game a moment ago, and obviously this is a game we've been waiting for a while, buddy. And we've got Pitt State and Central Oak, and as we're taking a look at this here, heck of a ball game. And Pitt State, though, felt like they kind of kept them at arm's length for the most of the game. And, John, we're going to go ahead and watch a little bit of video and go ahead and kind of take a look at a little bit of what this game turned out like. And you're going to go ahead and see, those are some nice white uniforms, by the way. As we get on in here, Pitt State's ability to run the football in this one was really, they were dangerous enough in the passing game just so that they had to be respected. But at the same time, over 300 yards rushing in this game. They were able to kind of get the clear advantage in time of possession. And John, this is the kind of game I thought they had to play when I picked them in this. Now, did I think that they were going to put up this much offense over 500 yards? No, heck no, I didn't. And at the same time, I thought they were able to defend UCO just well enough and make Jet Huff a little bit inefficient through for under 50% in this game. That was kind of, to me, some of the biggest differences. And we talked here about 86, their tight end, old high school quarterback. He takes one of his two carries for a 66-yard score and ends up being a huge play in this game. And Pitt State, it was just able to kind of keep them in that second half. There was a 14-point game at half, and then Pitt was able to go ahead and hold on to a 7-point lead for a lot of it. Then at the end, they went ahead and were able to kind of move that on out a little bit more. And, with all that said, I was just, I thought Pitt had a very impressive performance down there, keeping Central Oak to 21.
Cleo Chandler, to me, has kind of been the story with that offense. I mean, 19 carries, 130 yards. He's really kind of stepped forward. They have that committee there, him and Noah Hernandez, but I think Cleo Chandler is really kind of developed for them, and they need that because they don't maybe get the explosive passing plays that a UCO gets or a UCM or some of those teams. But when they can get a little bit of explosiveness in the run game, that really helps.
Well, and after the game, there was a little bit. Pitt State had a chance to say some thoughts on the Twitter machine.
That's a big W for the Gorillas. Hey, thank you for all the fans, all the support. Hey, we top dogs now. Hey, Gorilla fans just got the dub. On to the next. See you next weekend. Let's do it. I know all y'all doubted us, and that's okay. And we love that. Please keep doubting us. Every week, I want to see polls down us. I want media to down us. Keep doubting us.
So with that, I kind of found some humor with that, John, just because obviously they were talking a little bit to you there. Let's be honest.
You're talking to me, you think?
No, they, our national crew, a lot more people were taking UCO. I mean, you and I both realize that. I've been kind of in the Pitt State corner here for a while, and this is just it came out on the right side for me between you and I doing the prediction, but nothing more. Now that said, Pitt State goes ahead, and Wayne Cavati went ahead, and he's the D2 guy for NCAA. He went ahead, moved them on up to the 1 spot, and I thought that was deservingly so. And in our poll, if we go ahead and we take a look, here is our newest poll. We've got Pitt State at the very top there. We have them jumping up, from the 3 spot up to 1. Valdosta moved down to 3 just because we thought the wins for both Ferris and Pitt were just too big to ignore when Valdosta, frankly, hasn't played or beaten a team in the top 50 yet, just by the way their schedule has played out, no fault of their own. So now that said, I did kind of find it interesting, though. What Coach had mentioned right there was, I kind of think that they felt like they've been getting disrespect. Well, frankly, us at D2, we've been giving them a lot of respect all this year, John. And, we ended up ranking them number 1. And ironically, we go to their social media and they're going ahead and they're talking about, hey, we're number 5 in the AFCA poll. And one of their fans kind of points out, by the way, because they didn't recognize us as picking them number 1 at all, which was kind of weird. But their guy says, hey, by the way, you ranked number 1 in the other recognized poll. So maybe they're just trying to kind of keep this on the down low. I don't know, whatever it is, John, but kind of seemed like an interesting play there, because I think that they are actually, by the media, getting respect. The coaches are the one who have them at 5.
If you need bulletin board material and if your players buy into it, can't really blame them. Vote. It's clear price since I'm on this podcast. I'm not officially associated with D2football.com, but I vote in the poll, and the top three is what my top three is right now. I think Pitt hadn't quite been playing to that level that they've been playing when you had that Ferris win early in the season, which you were at.
Yeah.
And this week with UCO, I think they got back to that level. And maybe they just needed a game and a top 10 opponent like that to get to that level. But I think Pitt showed what they're capable of when they're clicking on all cylinders.
Well, and Pitt deserves to be in the one spot because they beat Ferris kind of handily in week 0 of this season. So they've got that direct head-to-head. But nonetheless, huge win for the Gorillas. And now they're in a great spot. Now, as we kind of move along here, other big games that we had in the conference, we have Central Missouri going to battle with Washburn. We both thought this would be a very close game. Now, John, I did happen to pick Central Mo by 3. Not to say anything. I'm just kind of mentioning that.
You're going to point out my upset special of the week right before we have our.
I figured I just had to throw that out there. But whoa! The green room's blowing up, by the way. And so let's go ahead and run through a little bit of the highlights, and we'll go ahead and throw on some of that video. UCM was able to go down right away and play fast, march, and score. And this was a game, though, where Washburn was very game and punching back the whole time. And, Sam Van Dyne had a very good game. And, Trey Richardson had over 200 yards receiving in this contest. And,
star in this league.
Right. Huge fourth down play right there. Zabrowski kind of gets turf monstered at the end there. And, as we're looking at this here, each time it felt like, maybe, one team was going to pull away. It didn't really happen that way. I was getting text message updates about this game like, okay, it's going back and forth, like a ping pong. And, all of a sudden, Washburn actually gets a little bit of daylight in this one. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe UCM's going to end up, getting upset here. But quite a throw here, There's not a lot of quarterbacks in D2 who are putting that one right there. And, then, UCM's up 3, getting towards the back half of the third quarter. We got 3rd and 7, and what does Washburn do? They hit one over the top. Now, our guest, I have a feeling our guest has watched that play a few times, and it became an area of teachable moments. And now we've got our defensive linemen. What are we doing here? Okay. I don't know if you'd seen that, but Weston King, defensive lineman, goes ahead and scores on this play. Just an absolute beaut right there. He goes ahead and gets it.
Bears, but
look at this.
The Mules.
Timber, that reminded me a little bit. I'm old enough to remember like when William Perry, the fridge, scored.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah. As a Bears fan, that's something I got to bring up. But let's go ahead and let's bring in our special guest, Coach Josh Lamberson. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, Coach, quite a game there. We've talked all year that Washburn is going to throw punches with anybody in this league, and they have. So give me some of your thoughts, having a chance to soak in the film a little bit.
Well, first and foremost, I've always had so much respect for Coach Schurig and the teams that he has put on the field, regardless of the record. They're going to play extremely hard. And, they obviously showed a lot of fight in our game from Saturday. And we thought we threw some knockout punches, and they took them and responded in every possible way. It wasn't until really the fourth quarter late in that game where we were able to put that away. And you saw that last touchdown by Weston King there. There's a cool story behind that. But was just so impressed with Coach Schurig and the Washburn football team because, their record. And when you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, guys, this. When you get judged by what happens on a scoreboard, sometimes it can become tough to rally the troops. And those guys came in here with a great game plan and played extremely hard and gave us all we wanted. And really proud of our guys for figuring out a way to win that game.
Absolutely.
Coach, you referenced a great story for Weston King. We don't get a shout out D lineman that much. What's a great story?
Well, so Weston, he's been a mule for 5 years and has just been totally invested in this program. He's one of our captains. Weston, we've had that in the game plan for really the entire season. Wanted to do it at home. Weston's family has been battling some health problems, and mom's been battling cancer. And so when he got that touchdown, we said, hey, we're going to give mom the ball. Well, I meant give mom the ball after the game. Weston, during the game, goes up into the stands, gives mom the ball. Well, you only have 6 balls that you can play with during a game. And so the official's like, Coach, we need a 6th ball. And so we had to send one of our coaches up there to grab that ball. And, of course, he got booed because he was taking the ball from Mama. And I was like, guys, I promise I'm going to give this thing back to you after the game's over. But we need that ball to finish this game out. So got the ball back and then, gave it back to his mom after that game was over. But just a really cool story with a phenomenal kid and a phenomenal family.
Absolutely.
Coach, another phenomenal kid you've got on your roster, and one we talk a little bit more about is Zach Zabrowski, obviously reigning Harlan Hill. I think everybody knows the accolades, but this year, I mean, kind of as a team, it hasn't always been smooth. But what have you seen from him? Tell us a little bit about maybe what we don't know beyond the stats on Zach there.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Zach is the most competitive kid that I've ever been around. And I say that in the most complimentary way possible. Zach just loves to play the game of football, and he plays it at a really high level. And I know, he's kind of been maybe not as in the limelight as he was last year. But if you go and you look, he still leads the nation in total offense. He still leads the nation in passing offense, touchdowns, points responsible for. I mean, he's still at the top of the leaderboard in most of those categories. And so I would say this about Zach is that he's not defined by what's going on the scoreboard. He is literally trying to find a way to run for a first down, to throw for a first down, any way that he possibly can to help our football team win. He hates when I say punt or field goal because he wants the ball in those situations to go out and try to just help our team. And so, really proud of Zach for continuing to be that for our guys and trying to rally the troops and, push this thing forward for us.
Coach, obviously you're, at the beginning of this year, you guys were ranked anywhere between 1 to 2 to 3, depending on what the source was. You guys had such a heck of a season last year where you end up, losing on, essentially one play to the national champions. You come into this year, expectations are really high, and you guys have gone through a slew of injuries. It's been a bumpy road. How has your crew, how have you guys as coaches been able to kind of go ahead and try and keep this path okay, to the point where right now you guys have 3 losses and there's still you guys still have a puncher's chance in this thing?
Yeah. I'll go back to the origin of that question. I think a lot of the preseason hype and what people were talking about for the 2024 team was based on what the 2023 team did, and what they were able to accomplish and the wins that they amassed. And so, going into it, that's never been the mission for us. It truly has been about the kids and, investing in them as people and as humans. Football is the vehicle that we use to ultimately get into their lives and be able to do that. And so now I know football, we are ultimately determined the success and the failure by what that scoreboard says at the end of the day. Sure. But I have been so incredibly proud of our 18 to 23-year-olds, our coaching staff, and the resolve that they have shown throughout the season to get up and to learn from the mistakes that we have made, to grow from those opportunities. You said teachable moments. We've had a lot of those teachable moments that we've had in our program this year. And the resiliency that we've had really from our players to our coaches to our administration has been something that's been pretty inspiring for me. There's never been a day where I've woke up and been like, gosh, dang, I got to go to work today. There's excitement still that's going on. And I think if if that truly is your mission, is to ultimately, get these kids to be better from A to Z in their lives, and use football as a way to do that, then it makes those losses a little bit less. And we're going to grow from those. Obviously, nobody wants to lose, especially people that pour so much into football. And you guys know it. And I don't know if the general public knows how many hours go into a single football game. You're up at the office late, you're watching tape late at home. You put your kids to bed if you get there in time for them to go to bed, and then you watch tape. You might spend a couple minutes with your wife and your family, and then you're right back on it trying to game plan and put these kids in position to be successful. And so there's so much that goes into it, but ultimately you can't just let the wins and losses ultimately define the mission, and it hasn't for us. And so that's been the thing that I think has kept us going.
Coach, your defense this year, I mean, there were some rough parts, obviously, but the last 2 weeks kind of since that third loss, 30 points to Northwest. They were scoring some good points this year. And then we just talked about the speed Washburn has, 28 points to them.
Yeah.
Where have you seen your defense kind of take those steps forward? I'm sure it's not where Coach Jones and you guys want it to necessarily be yet, but where have you seen kind of those steps forward on that side of the ball?
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up. In particular, probably the last 2 weeks, John, we've gotten some turnovers. And, Northwest, the first drive of the game last week, we got a turnover inside the 10-yard line to finish this Washburn game. Their last 3 possessions, we got turnovers to really ice the game. So again, a turnover inside the 10 on a fumble, and then 2 interceptions on the subsequent drives to finish the thing out. And so, we're starting to be able, last year we tied for, I think, the league or the nation lead in interceptions. And, we just hadn't had that this year. And so we're starting to get those turnovers to go in our favor and get on the plus side of the turnover margin, which always, that helps a struggling defense and an offense and a football team in general. And so that's where I've seen the most improvement out of these guys for the last 2 weeks. And obviously going to need that this week to keep going.
Coach, there's a lot of coaches around this league who are good friends. Lots of them have Northwest ties. And we're going to play a little video here, and we need to get your thoughts when we come back from it. This is an excerpt from a previous show that we had.
Well, so one, Coach Webb, there's currently a CEO chain in the mail heading to Matt Webb.
He's going to wear that. Me and Matt
are
going to get on him about that.
For sure. I gave Coach Lamberson a hard time. I walked out to midfield, and he kind of looked at me, and I said, "You like it?" Yeah. I said, "Would you wear one?" And he said, "Maybe." And I pulled one out of my back pocket and gave it to him. So honestly, it just started.
So were you just playing along with them, or do you have it there with you by chance, or is it already in the garbage? I mean your desk drawer.
Oh boy, what a story. So I was caught so off guard when Coach Doral came out with that chain on, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, "Yeah, do you like it?" The whole story. And he's one of my dear friends, so it was like, "Yeah, it looks good on you. The diamonds, really bring your eyes out." And to Coach Doral's credit, he's got 3 national championships and a lot of equity built up on his resume where he can wear whatever he wants to wear. When I worked with Coach Doral, I gave him a bad time about his wardrobe pretty much all of the time. And he owns it. So great for him. And he reps that thing, and it's going great for him. I think I've got to do quite a bit to be able to pull that CEO chain off before I start repping that thing.
You might already have swag, Coach, but if Coach Doral needs that, then so be it. We're going to have fun with it nonetheless. So
yes, please do. And he deserves that.
Bring it back to, man, that's a tough act to follow.
I know. Sorry about that.
The CEO chain.
I know.
want to get back to kind of this season, and a lot of newcomers on the roster this year, Coach. And we've talked to different coaches about kind of transfer portal and how they embrace it, or some of them don't embrace it as much. Just with your team, it says something about what you built in Warrensburg there, that people want to come play for you. But what's the thought process, and how do you go about finding the right fits in the portal, and how have you guys embraced that?
Yeah, and I think it's a moving mark, and the bullseye I think is going to change from year to year. To be real honest with you, and I think that has a lot to do with the fluctuating rules of Division I, and potentially the 105 roster moves that could kind of trickle down from the FBS level, and then see what the FCS level does down to the Division II level. So I really think it's almost and I don't love to say this, but it's almost a 6-month experiment. And it's your fall semester, your spring semester, and carries into your summer, and see what's going to happen during the fall. So the way that we've kind of embraced, I think, roster management from a head coaching perspective has always been very important. But now there's just more options that are available, and you have to figure out, and this is, I think, one of the hardest things to do. You've got to forecast your roster, and with the transfer portal and the ability for kids to jump in the transfer portal. And I've embraced that from the standpoint, if our kids have an opportunity to go and, and it's out there, Zach Zabrowski was offered 6 figures to get in the portal. And that's not something that we've made public. It's just, it's fact.
I don't think anybody's surprised either, though.
No.
Right. No. And that's just the day and age of college football. But, it was the perfect storm for Zach to stay here, and through some very generous alumni and donors, we were able to make it comfortable for him to stay. But, but if kids can make 6 figures from a Division II roster and then go up and make that at a Division I roster, they should,
Right.
and I'm going to celebrate that and be happy for them. Am I going to miss them? And is it going to be a hole in our roster? Absolutely. But if you just go look at the Division II roster, specifically in the MIAA last year, there were quite a few of those guys that made that jump, that, went and made money and are now at FBS schools, or maybe some of them aren't at FBS schools anymore. But it's tricky, John,
Right.
To figure out, hey, what are we going to lose maybe after this semester? Do we have anybody that's a younger kid that may be able to fill that void, maybe not as talented, but has some potential to do that? Or is it something that we need to go in and fill in with the transfer portal, or is it a junior college kid, or what type of kid are you really looking for? And so I think that is it's going to be one of the biggest challenges that we face, specifically at the Division II level, with the resources that we have, because, we do have limited resources in that fact too. We can't just get everybody on a flight and bring them into Kansas City and drive them over to Warrensburg. It's just, and that's much like everybody at our level. And so to really be pretty selective in that group is something that's going to be tough too, because the transfer portal, another aspect of that, it's speed dating, and you try to find as much information about kids as you possibly can, but you're up against a clock, and you're in a race with those other schools to get them on campus and to get them offered. And so all of those things, I think, in combination with what you have on your current roster, and what you hope to have on your current roster when school starts the second semester, makes it tricky.
Coach, as we go ahead and we kind of, round things out here, you guys have 3 games left on your schedule. Some real big ones, obviously. Kind of how do you guys look at, there's 3 weeks left, given the unique situation that you're in and how the season has played out? How do you guys how do you position this with your guys? I mean, you guys looking at this like, hey, if we find a way to play our best football, we give ourselves a chance? Is that kind of where you're at?
Yeah, it is. And I've said this, we've won some close football games this year, and bad football teams don't win those games notoriously. Two 1-point wins, a 3-point win, just throughout the entire season, our kids have kind of found ways to win, but I don't think we've played our best football. And, what a phenomenal opportunity to go to. In my opinion, I think Pitt State does a phenomenal job with their game day experience. I think it's one of the greatest venues in Division II football with what they do from a home field advantage perspective. And so, these games are you don't need a motivational speech to go into Pitt State and to get your guys riled up. It's always those games that they look forward to. And so, especially with them being the number one team in the country, I'll just acknowledge that for you guys. That's the poll that I kind of followed too.
Good answer. Good answer.
They are the number one team, in the country. And, our guys we still have a good football team. We still have really good players on our team. And we're just we tried to get really good in practice today. We'll try to get a little bit better tomorrow and Thursday and Friday and carry that thing on into Saturday. And then, just play your best game in that venue against obviously a very, very good football team. But I feel like we have some good football players, and I feel like we have a good football team too. And so taking it 1 week at a time, because that second week and that third week don't mean anything if you don't take care of the first week.
Funny
Absolutely.
how the coach there calls them the number 5 team in the country, but the coach playing them this week, they're the number 1 with a bullet, without a doubt.
See how that motivation switches there, John? You see that? Doesn't matter how you want to look at it. But, well, Coach, greatly appreciate you making time for us and dealing with some of our tech challenges earlier. Great. Best of luck the rest of the way. And once again, thanks very much for coming on with us.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. Witt and John, what you guys do for Division II football is greatly appreciated from a national stage, from a regional stage perspective. The platform that you give all of us, I think, is incredible. It's not just the fans that watch it. Our student athletes watch it. I know the coaches, they might say they don't watch it, but they watch it too, and everything in between. So just really appreciate all you guys do and the sacrifices that you make for D2 football.
Appreciate you, Coach. And we'll see you again along the sidelines along the way. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
John, did you get that one? Speed dating the transfer portal. I like that one.
I got it.
Sometimes, John, you got to write this stuff down. Sometimes we got to have this available for us.
Lambo knows how to give out a quote every once in a while. I mean, my guy Joe Andrews down there in Warrensburg, I'm jealous of him some days. So Lambo he'll give you something. But there's nobody with a higher approval rating around the league than Coach Lamberson. So it's fun to have him on, just like all the coaches we've had on here the last few weeks.
Well, buddy, I'm going to move you along to our next game.
Let's go.
We do have some highlights for this one. And about to say, as long as this thing doesn't break down on us tonight, buddy, we're going to keep on rocking here. We've made it through half the show already. Just thought I'd point that out. Of course, there's going to be a picture of Tyler Common because the fact that when you score that many times, you're probably going to be on there, right?
Tyler Common highlight reel incoming.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this for Emporia. And I like the color rush we have going on here. But this was a game that you and I both thought was going to be very close. Now, if I remember right, John, I was just going to say this might be the reason that I went undefeated this week, and you went 500, I believe.
Oh boy, you picked the 1-loss team to beat the 4-loss team. Congrats.
Well, I didn't know who was playing quarterback. Let's give me a little bit of help here. And Gunnar Gundy only throws for, what did he throw for, 1,000 yards in this game or something?
Something like that.
Ridiculous. 650 yards. Yeah.
I saw his stat line first, and I was like, "Ooh, that might be like National Player of the Year or Player of the Week."
Oddly enough, he was on
that. They all went to Common.
He was on the waiver wire in our fantasy league because nobody knew if he was healthy or not. If I had had any idea of that, I'm going to tell you, that wouldn't have been good for fantasy right there. But this game was also, we talked about the UCM game a moment ago, as Tyler Common catches another ball. The ref just got used to him getting the football from him.
Yeah, all 3 around.
Yeah, but this was a very back and forth game also, and one of those we've seen so much of that this year in the conference. Where, I mean, I'm not taking a stray shot here at Missouri Southern, but just about everybody else in the league has been able to punch up quite a bit. And in this game here, it was that close, and we didn't know if they were going to, stay at a one-loss tally there.
I thought your stray shot was going to come at Northeastern and Lincoln because, getting them kind of clearing them out of the league has just made those top 10 teams that we had before, and there's no quote unquote bye week. There's no off day. So I feel like Commissioner Racy has said that in the past before, and it's been like, well, kind of. Now it's serious because even Moso, they've had their moments, and I think they'll have their moments again. But this is, the league's really tough right now.
Well, and as we kind of finish off the week, we did have one-sided game, and
I just said they've had their moments, and then you put up 53-9.
Yeah, this the idea that we had earlier in there that Missouri Southern was going to be able to be mid card in terms of this grouping just hasn't turned out that way, and the defense has really struggled, and with that, Fort Hays goes ahead and kind of stays alive in the picture. I'm not willing to say 3 losses has you out for sure, but I can tell you right now, if you're a coach, you're going to be able to sell hope on that, because you know what, for sure if you don't win that you're not making it. So do your best to get to that 8-3 mark.
I know it's a lot of numbers and a lot of things like that, but man, Fort Hays State right now is passing the eye test. They
sure are.
They look like a playoff team when you watch them play, and we'll see what they can do. Big one this week.
Well, so let's go ahead as you and I kind of move through things here. We're going to take a look at the standings, and this has been kind of on the way for a while. This has had plenty of time for everything to kind of take shape. The UCO is at the top spot for the last few weeks. Obviously, Pitt now is up there taking that spot. Got some big games left. Central playing against Central Oklahoma playing against Emporia State's a massive game, and upcoming Fort Hays State has a massive game also.
Emporia's got some big ones.
Yeah. So still plenty of great games left here. Nothing has been decided. Let's be real clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we mentioned that top 25 earlier, and we didn't really get a chance to soak in what was going on. Now, let's talk about teams not named Pitt State, because we have them obviously as our one. We didn't drop down Central Oklahoma too far. And I wanted to mention that because of the fact that a lot of times in these polls, John, there's going to be an automatic drop them 6 spots type thinking. Yeah. Well, you know what? When you lose to a team that we're going to put number 1, and you were competitive with them in that game, and that's your only loss this season, we're going to keep you there in the top 10.
Yeah, I dropped them quite a bit in mine, but that's only because I had them a lot higher. I had them higher than Pitt going in, and obviously Pitt proved that. So, like I said, my top 3 in this are the same as the consensus, and then it gets a little tricky. I have Ouachita up at 4, and just a little bit of moving around there in the middle of the top 10. But I think this looks pretty fair, and I significantly moved up Emporia State too, because they just keep winning in a league that most of us consider the top league in the country. And when you got 1 loss at this point in it, you've got to be taken pretty seriously. Your 1 loss is you have given the number 1 team in the country their only loss. So put it that way. That's a pretty good resume there at number 13.
Yeah. So, and once again, the thing with Valdosta, this is not a slight to them. They just have not had a chance to play teams that we're going to look at as prove-it games. And they have those upcoming. So
sometimes that's how the schedule breaks. We said that for weeks with Ouachita. Then you go out and you beat somebody and you skyrocket. That's kind of how it goes.
And we've rewarded teams, I think, in our poll with that. So yeah. One thing that did happen this week since the games is on Monday the alphabetical regional rankings. What was that?
A whole lot of nothing on that page.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see there's still a doc matrix printer in existence. But the looking at this here, that's just the alphabetical listing. Now, John, I go ahead and I do my own little fuzzy math on the back, during this process. Chuck and I always do this, and it's something that I didn't go in kind of both feet this week just because I knew that they weren't going to be ranked, but I went in enough to be dangerous. So for those who have an interest of what this might look like, keep in mind, I'm not, Inkblot and I don't have identical thinking with things. We're, he and I chat every once in a while on this stuff, and we're almost in lockstep, except for a little thing here or there. Now, as we take a look, the yellow area is highlighted because that's the most important measure here, which is a cumulative number that is adding up your strength of schedule plus your win percentage. So, for example, if we take a look at Ouachita's win percentage is a 1.00, 100 essentially in this case. And all you do is you add it to that 545, and that's how you get 1.545. So theirs is easy because they have a winning percentage like they do.
And it's easier to predict at the end of the season because it's going to be 1.500 because they insulated schedule, correct?
Yeah, so they will be at 500 for that strength of schedule as a GAC team because they don't play anybody outside of their conference. So it's going to end up being even.
If they win out, it'll be 1.500 is the number to beat for these one-loss teams.
Yep. Now that said, some of the things that I look at the most is, and I have them in the order right now that I think they would be in that gold area to the left. So in case people are wondering why is somebody ahead of somebody, well, Pitt beat Ferris beat Grand Valley. That's how that works. Now you may be thinking, okay, well, Emporia beat Pitt. Well, Emporia's numbers are measurably lower in strength of schedule, like night and day different, to where they probably wouldn't be looked at as equals numerically. Does that make sense, John?
Yes. And as we said, Emporia's got big games left with Central Oklahoma and Fort Hays. You win those games, that strength of schedule is going through the roof compared to where it is now.
Now, Indianapolis, being the fact that no one from the GLVC is in that top 7, they would be granted earned access. What's that?
Or in the top 15. The GLVC is a one-team league this year.
Yeah, so they will get what we call earned access, and they will automatically get the 7 spot. So, in other words, I think what we're looking at, John, and this would be, kind of kicking the can down the road a little ways, but what we're probably looking at is 2 GAC teams. We're looking at 2 GLIAC teams. And then if I know we're going to have 1 GLVC team in if Indy wins out, then inescapably that means 2 MIAAs. So all of a sudden, by my math, UCO versus Emporia all of a sudden looks a little bit like a play-in game.
If those teams can continue to take care of business until that spot, yeah, there will be arguments made that the loser of that game should still get in. But, man, it is looking right now like that's a play-in game.
It's not going to be much of an argument if you got 2 losses and nobody else does.
Yep.
But that's kind of how thin the ice is right now with regard to the loss category. Now, we all know there's going to be some things that are going to happen here. Some teams are going to lose some games that maybe they shouldn't have down the stretch. And all of a sudden, there's going to be a little bit of chaos here. Missouri Western last year. Not to bring that back up for you, but I'm just saying.
Well, it's a constant thing where the MIAA is watching the battle of the ravine, pulling one way or another to try to get another team in. Now, this year is a little bit different. And the battle of the ravine, of course, for not as much national D2 fans, is Ouachita Baptist against Henderson State. Ends the year every year. The common thought going in was, hey, Harding probably beats Ouachita, and they're basically flipped from where they are in the standings right now. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, if maybe Henderson can pull that upset like they have before, then maybe you get a 3rd MIAA team in. But how the schedule is broken for Harding right now, they have played their big games in the GAC already.
Yeah, they're done.
I cannot see them losing another game. So I think the GAC's getting 2 in no matter what.
Yeah, Harding's done with their tougher games, so you're exactly right. This looks like there is not as much play as if I look at some of the other super regions, where a whole lot looks like there's stuff in play.
The other way that could have caused some chaos is if Ferris dropped down to that 2-loss line and Grand Valley would have won that game last week.
Yes.
Then you get a little bit more chaos, head-to-head loss to Pitt. What happens there if they're both at the 2-loss line? Like there's some stuff there, but it kind of played out last week the simplest way to say, hey, winner of UCO Emporia, you're in, and the rest of this is set.
Yeah, and John, in case anybody's looking at some of the categories to the right, like KPI and performance indicators, PI over there, we have seen plenty of cases in the recent past where those are just more like a tiebreaker category than they are not, and they are not a preliminary criteria that they're looking at right away. So don't get too hung up on those numbers to the right. They're more like, hey, if everything looks equal between these two teams, how about we look over further right and help break this tie?
I think I think especially when it's this, it feels like it's going to be fairly obvious at the end of the season, the 7 teams. I know Coach Lambo, our guest tonight, is hoping for a little bit of chaos to help the Mules maybe have a shot.
It happens. It happens.
Chaos can happen, but right now I feel like the 7 teams are pretty set in stone pending that UCO Emporia game.
Now that Dykstra saying that, we're gonna get that soundbite.
Seeding is going to be very interesting between all these teams. If the number 1 team in the nation is not the number 1 team in the region, which could be. So that's still got some things to be decided. But it seems like last weekend had the opportunity for chaos and it didn't happen. The results happened to make it easier for the committee.
Right. Well, speaking of chaos. Yeah, let's dwell on this for a minute.
I was getting cocky. That's my problem.
You did get a little cocky. I can't do anything to get ahead of Massey, apparently. So.
Well, because you keep picking all the favorites with them. That's your problem.
I know.
You can't look at those last couple of weeks.
Now, before I forget, since we had some tech issues earlier, are you able to pull up Massey on another screen, just given some of the challenges we're having here at the MIAA Weekly headquarters?
I can do my best to get.
Fair enough. While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up the games.
We've been over this before. I don't check Massey is. I'm not as a devotee as you are.
Well, and you know what? It is what it is right now. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of look at the games that we have on slate here. This is not a super easy week for picking. We're gonna, the biggest game that we have, in John and I's opinion, is Fort Hays and Emporia, and we're gonna go ahead and kind of handle that one last, just because we're gonna do a little bit of a breakdown with it. Now, John, Nebraska Kearney going to Topeka to play Washburn. I'm not saying that you got to, take some shots here and try and catch on up, but where are you going with this one, MIAA expert?
Well, that's kind of what I'd like to know. Can I get the Tom Frederick from NSIC Weekly and let me know where you're going first?
Is that where we're trying to go with this? Would you watch some of our show or something where
watch all your show, and he's trying to catch back up and make his picks accordingly.
Last night when we filmed, that's all he did.
I'm gonna. If you're not gonna go first, then I'm going to.
Well, hold on. I'll give you a chance.
Okay.
The answer is Washburn.
Oh wow, that surprises me.
I think Washburn. They can throw the ball downfield. We just saw Kearney give up 650 yards of airtime. So I like Washburn in this one to get the win. I went a different direction, so now you're considering if you're going to take Kearney. Is that where we're at with this?
This was going to be an upset special. I think Kearney's a better team. I think they're better in
Maybe.
the trenches. I think they can dominate this game up front, kind of similar to when I picked them over in Mo West a couple weeks ago. I think they are better up front than they are given credit for. I was going to pick Washburn because I assumed you were going to pick Kearney. But if you give me Kearney and a chance to make up a game, I'll take it 27-24.
Now, the Northwestern game, let's be really honest. We're both taking Northwest there by a comfortable margin. I don't think we probably need to spend much time there.
28-7 if you want to score. I don't know if it's too comfortable. They can.
I'll take 38-27.
Okay, more points. That's fair.
Central Mo going to Pitt State. Are you feeling an upset special, especially given all your, inability to give Pitt love?
Yeah, I'm not going to be one of those media haters on
No,
Pitt.
don't be that guy.
Any D-line room bulletin board. So
I understand.
I'm going to go 38-21 Pitt in this one. I think that defense is really good. I think Zach Zabrowski is really good, so I think he gets some scores in him. But I think Pitt is just too much in this game. They're my number one team in the country for a reason. 38-21.
I got a feeling that early on in this game, I'm gonna get a text message or I'm gonna see a score, and it's gonna be like 21-10 Central Mo, and then Pitt's just gonna lock them down and finish the game out. I think this game, Pitt's going to be the hunted in this game. I think this is going to be a 30-27 game. I think Pitt is able to outlast Central Mo, but man, I think that this one, I'd be on alert after a big emotional win with UCO. Man, this seems like a tough next game. UCO
Jet Huff maybe helps prepare you. We've had this discussion before with other teams. Helps prepare you for Zach Zabrowski a little bit.
Zabrowski runs more. I've kind of come to see that. But let's go UCO at Missouri Western. I know you're not going your upset special here.
You got an angry group of Chos out there, and the Broncos are gonna put up some points, I think, in this one. 59-21. I like what Western's doing. They haven't quit on the season. UCO is just still a top 10 team in the country for me.
I think that they probably gave up more. They give up more points here than they want to, but I like 50. Yeah, I could see let's say 51-27.
Yeah, right in that same ballpark.
Now here we go with the tail of the tape. I keep in mind I've already picked this one last night or 2 nights ago. Apparently got you upset per the comments in the national show. But we got a 7-1 team against a 6-3 team. I get the impression that you might have felt the same way I do, that I'm not sure that I feel like Emporia is a 7-1 squad. Like they've gotten through on some tough ones, and more often than not.
I think they're a 7-1 squad when you talk nationally.
Okay.
Because they have a tough schedule in the MIAA, that just comes naturally. You beat Pitt in the jungle. I don't want to take any of Emporia's flowers away from them.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think Hayes is just playing like a 7-1. I think if you look on the field, it'd be hard to tell which team's 7-1 and which team has 3 losses.
Yeah, they've probably taken care of business more lately.
Yeah. So I know which way you're going, so I'm going to go the other way, but this is a toss-up game for me, and I'm going to take Emporia, Gunnar Gundy, Tyler Common, big connection at the end, win it 35-31 at the end in a really good game. I think these are 2 really good teams that are top 25 teams, even if I don't have Fort Hays there right now. I think their talent level is that of a top 25 team, and the ability they play too. It's not like they're not well coached or something. It just been on the wrong side a couple times.
Well, I took Fort Hays on our show the other night on the national show, as you know. So that's just kind of where I'm at with things. But as we go ahead and we kind of wrap things up here, buddy, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our media page. Now, didn't have time to do a lot of digging into this. Did we have anybody that we need to give an additional shout out to here? I know John Dales gave us the Pitt State stuff. Did we have anybody else that we needed to give a shout out to? And we're not going to be able to put it in the slide. I'm just saying an audio.
Our guys over in Kearney, I'm going to shout out in NTV. They do a great job over there in Kearney. They provided that highlight of the Kearney game. Darren Winberg runs the show over there, and him and his guy Trey were able to hook me up with some video. So I appreciate them. And like you said, John Dales again. We've got Brett in here, and it doesn't hurt to give Brett some extra love, but both Northwest and Western weren't by. So Brett this week. We'll be back with a vengeance next week, Brett.
Yeah, and you know what, folks? John and I, we went through all kinds of tech challenges tonight with the show just to try and get it through. Our thing called StreamYard is not working like it's supposed to, but we were able to get through the show. I'm gonna take the tape off my ankles now. I think I'm all okay, John. But once again, John, show us the shirt as we leave. Our Brandon Meisner D2. Everybody is going to be getting those here in the next 24 hours or so who order them, hopefully. Mine is supposed to be here by about noon tomorrow. I have 2 garments coming. I'm kind of looking forward to that. You have 2 as well.
I've got the hoodie I haven't tried on yet.
Coach Lambo has got something coming and all that stuff. Great show. Appreciate you again, buddy. We will see you guys all at the games. Thank you.
Until next week. We'll see you.